I'd like to start out by saying thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell you how proud I am of my department. They did an incredible job with the reconfiguration. They completely changed all transportation operations in 18 months and did it seamlessly. I'd like to go on record as saying they nailed it. It took 2 years for us for preparation and staffing. We started with dedicating a head bus driver who worked on the routes for 2 years. These routes hadn't been changed in over 40 years. Once those routes were completed, we ran the routes in 2016 and 2017 to assure that the timing of these routes were accurate. Previously, we were a 3-run district, which was a high school, a middle school, and a primary. With the reconfiguration, we went to a 4.5-run district with senior high, junior high, intermediate enrichment program for music, and primary. Within those runs, we transport almost 6,000 students to 10 in-district locations and 56 out-of-district locations. With that being said, we had to look at all of our routes and we had to redo all of our routes, something that we hadn't done in 40 years. We purchased 16 buses to support the new routes. Next, we had to hire 25 drivers to cover retirees in the new routes we had created. This was a 25% increase in staff from the previous year. This was at a time when every district had driver shortages. It takes approximately 4 months to train a driver from start to finish. So we came up with some creative marketing ideas. We put sandwich signs out and moved them around the district so that they wouldn't become part of the scenery. We did a YouTube video that got the drivers excited about the upcoming reconfiguration, and we advertised on the high school marquees.
About the students, no trouble. I'm all about the bus. About the students, no trouble.
There was a lot of driver anxiety. We had drivers that were willing to retire rather than do something that they haven't done before. We have drivers who have been driving the same routes for 20 years. The thought of changing those routes and not knowing their students was enough for them to want to retire. So to get over some of that anxiety, what we did is we posted the runs and drivers were able to pick their own routes back in April so that they knew what they were going to be doing. We had our drivers go out and run the routes. We did an entire district dry run, so we ran the routes as if it was the first day of school, and that alleviated a lot of the anxiety that they had. We had normal startup issues. It's normal for buses to run late the first week of school, but the staff jumped on those issues immediately and they were rectified the next day. Due to the fact that the drivers didn't know the students, the first day we had some issues with it taking a long time for them to check the students in on the bus because they didn't know their names. The following day we brought the drivers in early and the principals made name tags to speed up the process. This made a big impact for the next day with buses getting out of the loop on time and getting to their next location on time. Drivers did not know their students, so checking students in at the elementary level was taking 25 and 30 minutes, making those buses leave late, which greatly impacted the intermediate schools. The following day, with the name tags and the drivers starting earlier, that enabled us to get the buses out of their loops on time. The second issue that we had was parents weren't at the stops when the buses arrived, and part of that was that the buses were arriving at inconsistent times for the first week. So we were making a lot of phone calls to parents, which again delayed students getting home and delayed buses getting into our intermediate schools. Once the second week of school started, that was rectified and buses were pretty much rolling on time. And thank you for the board for the changes that we made last year. They positively impacted this year's operations. The 3 house stop distance for K through 3 created many less calls from our primary parents. And then our prior notification for daycare changes, which we started educating parents in January, was very helpful that we received less phone calls for last minute changes this year. There were some unexpected challenges that resulted in the addition of 5 buses. We had some age-out Ross students that were riding the bus for longer than an hour. We had 5 special ed students that were attending BOCES 2 programs in Spencerport at 5 different locations. We had 1 high school bus that was late for school, and we had 1 overcrowded bus. So going forward, we're looking at getting junior high students into school closer to their bell time, and with intermediate students, we're looking at moving the start time back closer to 9 o'clock. For next year, we're changing our policy for 4 to 6 students. Parents will no longer have to be at the stop unless it's their request that they are. In conclusion, I want to thank the parents for their patience as we worked through this reconfiguration. The drivers have felt that this is one of the best openings that they've had, and now that things have had a chance to settle down, schedules are running more smoothly and we're receiving less complaints. And once again, I want to thank everyone for all your help and assistance.